Hi guys, welcome to the second episode on the DIY Pergola build. In this episode, the main idea is to show how I'm going to hold the girders to the post, and that's using coach bolts. Then there'll be a section on carving out the seats and the seat supports. So talking about the coach bolts, I'm using a 220mm coach bolt which will span the width of the girder and the post with an inch to spare. So I'm going to make a recess of half an inch on either side of the girder so that the head of the coach bolt sits well inside the girder. So to mark the positions, I'm going to make this template with the 2 screw holes over there. These holes will be kind of in a diagonal shape so that it holds the wood far better into the post. And while marking it in that angle on the front, I will flip this template upside down, or rather 180 degrees, to get the inverse of it. And this is so as to mark the correct positions on the rear girder. So here with a spade bit, I'm just going to carve in like half an inch to 3/4 of an inch in. And the white tape over there, the masking tape, shows me the depth in which I need to go in. So it looks like a good fit, and the head of the coach bolts can easily slide in. Now next I used a 10mm auger bit to drill through the spade bit hole, and I made sure the coach bolts went from one end to the other. So here I'm just keeping all the rafters on the girder, and the plan is now to measure up the cross beams and place it on top of it. The cross beams are the added supports which you see on top of the rafters, which gives the roof its strength. That's how it looks from underneath, and you can see that the 2x10 rafters really give it a good impact. These cross beams are just 2x2 timbers, and I believe I got a 3-meter long ones, so I need to make sure that I fit it in size. So I started off with one end, and somewhere down the middle of one of the rafters I made sure that the joint sits on it, and then the second cross beam goes over all the way out. I'm going to measure 9 inch from the end of outermost rafter, and then make sure I chop it off. So here I align all the cross beams and use the 2x4 as a cross reference to make sure that it's square, and also made sure that all of these sits exactly in the center of that rafter. And here I used a string line to make sure I mark 9 inches off from the side. The cross beams on the left hand side of the rafters are now cut in size on the miter saw. Just making sure that they all line up correctly. Now these are going to be the seats, and they are 2x12, and the plan is that I want the seats to sit in between the posts, and the timber which you see there is a long seat which spans 2.4 meters in length. Those are going to be the supports which hold the seats in place. This is a 2x10 timber. Now I'm going to take some time to explain the seats. These seats are going to be recessed in between the posts, so I have to create a notch over there, and there'll be a 70mm surround on all over the side. So to cut the notch, I'm just going to use my auger bit and drill holes on each of the 4 corners. Then I'm going to use a jigsaw and then cut it out. It's the same thing on the other side as well. So use the auger bit to drill holes and then use a jigsaw to cut out the shape. Now I did cut out the post a little over the 6x6 post, but I later on went and shaved off another centimeter from all the sides so that it fits in more snugly. This is how it looks like when the seats are sitting inside the post. It looks a little bit more better, it adds a little bit more drama to it. So next for the seat, I'm going to use a router, and then I'm going to remove an inch of it. Now the reason why I'm going to do this is it's going to be an L-shaped seat, and I want both the seats to be joined halfway through, it's going to be like a overlap joint. So one section of the seat will slide in underneath the other section of the seat. Just bear with me and I'll explain how it is. This is the second seat which lies in the front. So there you see me placing it together on the lawn. So here it is on the post, and this is what I said about the overlap joint. You can see how these two joints come together. I'm going to use a handheld planer and just smoothen off the section where the two timbers meet. That's the entire seat assembly. The three timber on the left hand corner are the front supports of the seats, followed by the three seats, and then all the 6 2x4 timbers over there are the rear supports. Next we cleaned up all the timber of all the sawdust and all the other things like that. So here it is, a whole lot of rafters lying there, rafters lying on this side, the 4 girders, and these are 5 meters or 4.8 meters long. The seat assembly with the seats and the supports, and the cross beams and the rest of the stuff. So that's a whole lot of timber which we have to go through to stain it. And to stain it, we are using a brown mahogany color. So this is a Wix brand, which is a superstore here in the UK. And I'm going to use a tray with a roller and a 4-inch brush. And I also am going to use a 2-inch brush and a 1-inch brush to get into the tight spaces. So for the notches, I used the 2-inch brush and went ahead and painted that. as well as for all the surfaces which are 2 inches in long. I use a 1-inch brush to stain the holes and the narrower areas. And I use a roller across this flat surface. For some reason, I didn't get a good finish with this roller, so I ended up using the 4-inch fence paintbrush anyway. With the first coat done, I used a 120 grit sandpaper and sanded out all the surface. Because you stained it, the grain started to pop out and it started to feel a bit rough. And overall, I gave it 3 coats and lightly sanded in between. So I used 120 grit in the first time and then I switched it up to 180 grit. So with 3 coats of stain on it, the next step is to seal it up. So I used a water repellent sealer, and this is a brand from Screwfix. And the plan is that when you apply this, it'll protect the wood against rain, dirt, grime and the whole lot. I mean, mainly water. So it's a really liquidy stuff and it just comes on with a paintbrush, and I gave that 2 coats as well. And you don't have to sand it in between, but you do need to put in 2 coats at the least so that it gets protected. So with that, we come to the end of this episode. In the next one, I'll show you how I started assembling this entire pergola, and the full build will be there in that video. So don't miss it, and please consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed yet. That's it from me, and thanks for watching.